Hey guys, welcome back to the Dane and Josh show. Dane sends his love. When it comes to calling games, a lot of times Dane will get called up. You know, we specialize in sports and music, so I'm always happy when I get to take the lead on a music episode. Again, Dane will be back next week. Had some games he had to call. When you get the call, you got to do what you're told, and you got to go where you go, right? So, but tonight is a special night for me. You all know I've been playing music for a very long time, and there's certain artists that just rock my world with their style, their charisma, their ability to play. And there's, in my opinion, one of the best piano players I've ever watched, and the world's opinion, really. Did some work, of course, with Lady Gaga and some side projects, and is really doing what I call this chill hop thing, which is a cool new movement. Maybe bringing it back, if you will, taking great piano work and mixing it in with some lo-fi beats, and just making a whole new sound that I feel like is fresh and positive at the same time. So, guys, it's the one and only Brockett Parsons stopping by tonight to honor us with this time. So I'll get right down to it. Brockett, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing great, Josh. Glad to be here, man. Really.
Yes, it's an honor, Brockett. Like I said, I've had Brockett ship on repeat for like a week now, man, and it's so good. So, man, your headspace and the way you write, there's nothing like it. You guys, when you look at some of even your videos that you post on Instagram, just those jam sessions, you probably forget notes that I'll never learn, and just the way you tickle the ivory is just beautiful. So I love it. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So Brockett, we've got some questions over the years, the artist questions that we ask our fans ask, and again, you're very well known. We love what you do with, again, your one of a kind piano, just the way you play. So some questions we're going to run past you to see what you think. We kind of pick your brain, then we'll transition into a segment called rapid fire, silly stuff like low hanging fruit, and the end of that we'll kind of talk about maybe how you chased your dreams and some advice for the up and comers. Okay, so sound good?
Okay, sounds good.
So first question, take me back, man. Obviously, before you did solo stuff, working with all these amazing artists, you're a producer, obviously from solo stuff. Back in the day when you first sat down and played, was it even piano or what was your first instrument? When did you first start playing instruments in your life?
I played piano when I was 8 and trumpet when I was 9.
Okay, so 8 years old. So you're talking like at that age. Now, I remember, man, when I first started going through lessons, it's tough. I was a young adult at the time. So when you're an 8-year-old kid, just kind of, if I saw right in respect to mom, I saw a lot of stuff that maybe you worked with mom teaching you how to play a little bit. Was that your first influence? Maybe mom teaching you, or who taught you at that age?
My mom's a brilliant piano player. Like, I mean, she's incredible.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
has she's a true natural gift.
man.
So when she tells me when she was young, she picked it up like instantly, like prodigious kind of talent.
Mm.
I was not like that. I didn't. I think with her, she felt that I would be able to be good if she just sort of pushed me just a little bit.
Yeah,
And she kind of said, "Okay, you're going to take some piano." I guess she sat me down at the piano, just put my hands on the piano, showed me how to curve my fingers a little bit, and then she felt like I'd be able to play physically. And I think she thought it was almost sort of like an athletic thing for me in that, I was a little lazy with my hands,
yeah.
and I think I had a little trouble picking some things up, just in terms of just coordinating my hands and stuff when I was a little kid. And she thought that it would be just good for my overall physicality to learn how to play piano.
Yeah, I love it, man. Like I said, from that age, young, you learn to play young. And I remember, man, the hardest time for me, and I could talk technicalities of it. But when I kind of stopped kind of taking actual lessons, they were teaching me inversions and just basic stuff, right? I'm like, okay, I'm out. And just the fact that you stuck with it and then turned into this monster piano player that you are, that just I'm so glad you did. Thanks, mom, and thank you for sticking with it, Rocket, because we are now blessed with tons of music we never would have had if maybe mom wouldn't have made you do it. So
Hey man, thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad I stuck with it too.
yeah, man. When you think about the early on, right? So all of that, there had to be take me back. So um, favorite memory. Now I know you've done lots of different things. Again, we talked about some of your side projects, the Lady Gaga gig, your Brockett ship, or even the latest single. I love Forever Chasing the Sun. I jam that all the time. Was there at this point though in your career, because I know you've done a lot of things with a lot of people, is there maybe a gig or maybe a session, maybe it's a jam session? What's one of the fondest memories of you as an artist, like playing, maybe it's live or jam session? What's a favorite memory of you as an artist so far?
And that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Um, a couple of things stand out. I would say playing on a TV show on MTV called Making His Band, competing to
Yeah.
be in P. Diddy's live band.
Okay.
That was super intense. I think that was a pivotal moment in my career. That was back in 2009.
Yeah.
That was super intense. And I would say um, playing the Super Bowl
Yeah.
was pretty serious. Was amazing. Of course, I mean,
Next
it's the
level.
Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And playing Madison Square Garden the first time with
Man.
Lady Gaga, I'm from New Jersey. That was super intense. Last time I'd been there was to see like a Rangers game when I was a kid,
Okay.
and then I'm playing Madison Square Garden. And this is a really good one recently, playing the Oscars with Lady Gaga a few months ago. That was very intense also.
That's
Got a
cool.
chance
That's
to
cool,
play
man.
a real acoustic piano on that one. That was great.
That's cool, man. So I've heard this, and maybe you can tell me as an artist. And I've done the bar scene, things like that, right? What I've done, that's kind of where I stopped. You take these things like Super Bowl, Madison Square Garden. I've had artists also tell me a lot of times that there's this also something about local tiny venues. Like I have a lot of country guys say the Ryman, things like that, right? And Grand Ole Opry. Is there maybe a smaller venue that's like, I like these tiny intimate places? Have you played in places like that too, that you just look back and has been fond memories for you?
Oh, absolutely. Literally thousands of gigs at small venues
Yeah,
over
yeah.
years of period. One that stands out is a club in New York City called Cafe Wha.
Love it. Love it.
It's been around since the 60s. It's kind of a landmark at this point.
Okay.
And Jimi Hendrix was discovered there, as well as Bruce Springsteen played there, as well as Kool and the Gang, and early in their careers. It really helped
Man.
break a lot of artists back in the day. And I played in what was a house band, which still performs there 5 nights a week, playing covers
I love it.
and all different types of music. And between 2006 to 2009, I played there 4 nights a week.
I love it.
So I probably played like 600 gigs at this one club.
Man, so you've definitely okay, that's the spot, man. So when we're in New York, we got to check that out, man.
Like
So
4 or
it's
5
like,
hours a night. Like we're talking 4 or 5 hours a night. So it's real. It's just repetition, like everything. If you've done, you're a big fan of sports, it's the same.
yeah,
The guys that you interview playing sports, I'm sure they get their reps in. It's just like that with anything. If you get good at it, just got to put the reps in, man.
that's a gig, man. Because I think about when I grew up playing, man. It's when you're talking about 4 or 5 hours a night, and you're playing like sets, right? I remember when I got my stripes, if you will, playing back in the day. We'd also play a lot of church growing up, like for hours on end, right? Jam sessions and all that.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and that's maybe 1 or 2 times a week, and you're doing this every night, man. Like you are literally just a pro at this, right? So, I like to pick artist brands on those like larger venues and those smaller ones to kind of see where people come out. So I get a lot of stuff too from people in Texas. They said like those little clubs in Texas, and of course some of the legendary ones in California, and just kind of wanted to see where your mind went with that. That's awesome. And when you think
So that
about
club Cafe Wha
I
definitely
love it.
was probably the
Love it.
most famous of the clubs that I really cut my teeth in New York.
Man, I love it. And that's kind of like what makes me tick is knowing what like you obviously well known for a very long time for what you do, virtuoso, but like those early memories, right? Like the grind, like you said, the day in and day out to get you kind of to where you are now, right? So kind of transitioning to another question, the influences I think people, it's backwards. I think people like listen to what you do and they branch out off of you. Like I hear these, like I told you, I hear this blend when I'm going through your albums and just kind of just on repeat, just vibing to it. There's a mix, West Coast beats. We've talked some of that trip hop, jazz, of course, is in there. There's just this undescribable, uncomparable mix. There has to be somebody that you've looked to in your career, though, like that's your influence, like maybe as an artist. Who's been the biggest influence on you so far as an artist?
I would say there's a few of them. I got to shout out a couple piano players.
Yeah.
Like most piano players who play any jazz at all, you got to shout out Herbie Hancock.
Yep.
He
Yep.
redefined harmony and kind of like the approach to playing jazz and any kind of groove jazz based music. This guy like really
Did it.
kind of
Yep.
like everybody kind of like has been influenced by him pretty much. I mean, he set the table for the approach of a lot of the way people play even now. I'd also say I personally love the way that Bill Evans played, highly influenced by him. The piano player played with Miles Davis. And another person who was like really kind of redefined the way to approach harmony I'd say two of them massive influences. And I'd also say that combined with funk and hip hop and rock. Let's see. I mean, I love hip hop too. So like, Biggie Smalls
Yeah.
or Tribe Called Quest, where they incorporated jazz with hip hop, as well as traditional R&B funk groups, Earth, Wind and Fire, or something like U2.
Yeah.
Like David Bowie. I mean, and then
Just music.
classical
Yeah.
music,
Yeah.
and
Man.
throw classical music in there too, like some, definitely played some. I'm not great at it, but I definitely did play some Bach and worked on some counterpoint a little bit. So throw all that together,
And
and kind of just
it's
like
this,
everything.
yeah. And it's neat, man, because I remember like again, I was scrolling through like tons of them, and there's definitely oh, you're doing a classical, you're like, check this out, you're just gigging, man, just sitting there. It wasn't even like it was improv, and just the way that you can just make licks happen, and just it's like, dude, somebody record we should have follow you with a recorder every time you touch a piano. Somebody record you, because you're gonna look back on these things one day and like these songs, all the stuff you can just make out of just throwaway licks is crazy, man. So I can see that. I can see a lot of the different influences, and it's neat that you're kind of a student of music. You listen to it all, and therefore it's this evolution of its own brand, right? When I listen to you, it's definitely, there is nobody like you. No one's doing this exact thing that what you're doing. And I remember like my dad growing up, he spoke about Miles Davis, right? And even some of the later like the Oasis type things in the late '90s, some of the Boney James type things. You can hear like a modern version of modern jazz and what you're doing, and it's so refreshing and so positive, right? It's telling a story without words, and I miss that. I miss instrumental. I miss instrumental artists just getting after it and just improvising and going 6, 7, 8 minute tracks. I miss that, and I'm glad that you're bringing things like that back, man. So
I think it's an exciting time for instrumental music. Actually,
yeah,
there's a lot of guys doing some great things.
I love it. When you look at, speaking of that, I know we talked a little bit off the record before. You're always working on something, man. You got probably a million projects, it feels like, at once. So can I get a sneak peek of what maybe some of your side stuff or what you're doing? I saved it for you. What's the next 12 months as an artist or maybe producer? What's it looking like for you in the days ahead?
I think for myself, I kind of have a goal right now of putting out a song every month, starting
Okay.
next month. I've got a whole bunch of tunes that I've done, and I think I'm just going to put it out one at a time.
Okay.
If I put a few of them out, and if it's a certain kind of response, and maybe people asking for an EP, perhaps I'll do that as well. But right now, I'm just kind of in the mood to kind of have something fresh come out every month, and
I love
always
that.
have something new coming out.
I love, so I think about like, again, some of the, just gotta go back to a lot of these jam sessions I've watched you do. I'm so glad that we're doing this now in a digital age where you can like, hey, I'm gonna go cut a track, and then the next day, if you wanted to, you could have it out on digital, right? It's so cool that you can now, fresh in your mind, produce the track, get it out, even if it's a demo, put it out there. The next day, the world can hear it. It takes me back to, man, back in the day when vinyl was a thing, when someone sit down, record it, drop it, and then it's on vinyl the next day. It's almost full circle now with digital, and it's such a cool thing to watch an artist like yourself just, hey, let me drop it, put it out there once a month. That's a pretty aggressive goal, man. So shout out to you for being willing to take up that goal on.
Well, I'll give it a shot, and hold me
Yeah.
to it.
I will, man,
If
because
they're not coming out, be like, where's that?
where's it
your
at?
single?
Yeah, where's the December song at? Right, it's
Right,
Christmas
exactly.
and all
Like,
that. Yeah, we need to have
hey,
some tunes, man. So that's
yeah,
awesome, man.
I want to honor that.
It's cool. I think I'm telling you, it's when we were talking just for just a lot about the dynamic and what you're doing. There's a homage to, I hate to say it, but there's a homage to deeper musicians. I know a lot of things you hear on the radio. It's great, a lot of great tunes. It's production. It's just produced. But I miss that. Let's take it deeper. Let's get an album, right? Remember, like back in the day when you play an album from start to finish. I miss days like that when you put something on, you don't change it, you don't select tracks and a playlist of this person and that. Like, let's play the whole album through. And when I do that with your stuff, I can sit down and like, man, I get lost in it, right? Whether I'm doing editing or I'm riding my bike or whatnot, you can get lost in an album. And I'm so glad that you're doing that. It's cool, man. So I can't say enough kudos of how much we appreciate what you're doing with music right now.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So there's a little segment. This is we have some great fans. And like I said, we pull stuff. Our audience ranges from, like I said, here in the States to Brazil to Finland. It's worldwide. And they send us these questions. This is a little breakdown of a segment that we call Rapid Fire. I don't give you any prep for this. This is some silly stuff meant to kind of pick your brain as personality, right? So
all right, cool.
these are going to sound insane sometimes when we bring these up to you, but you got to pick one. Dana and I usually bet on these, and the winner gets lunch provided by the loser. Okay, so so
Oh, wow.
ready for some
I've never
rapid
done
fire?
this. I've
Okay.
never done this before. I'll give it a shot. Hope I'm not lame.
No, you're good, man. So you just have to pick one or the other. You go with what you think you would pick, and we already have our bets set aside. Okay. So
All right, cool.
interestingly enough, you have to write. So I know you do a lot of instrumental stuff, but you're being asked to sit down as kind of an improv thing, and you have to write a song, and your lyrics have to be based around two things. Your lyrics, again, this is from the fans. Your lyrics have to be based around a cheeseburger or a cheesecake. What are you going with to make your lyrical content for the song that you're writing? Cheeseburger or
Cheeseburger.
cheesecake? Okay, got
Cheeseburger.
it. Got you. I was hoping I'd have that one right. So cheeseburger. Got you, man. Okay. So next question. So I'm 1 for 1 so far. Next question. You're being asked to collaborate on a guest track, right? And you get to pick this. And what this is, it's not just a collaboration. You have to take this guest track and you actually have to make a kid's show tune. Okay. Kids show tune, right? Just a kid song. Like we're doing something kind of like a Veggie Tales or whatnot. Are you going to have Mos Def collaborate with you or Method Man collaborate with you on this track?
Most def.
Okay, I'm 2 for 2. I got it. I just, like I said, the vibe and the style, both great artists, love them both. But I had John Mos Def. Next one for a charity event. We're doing we'll say the 5th annual Brockett Parsons charity event. You're asked to sit for 12 hours in one of these 2 tubs of ingredients. You have to sit there and you can't get out. You have to sit in a tub full of vanilla pudding or a tub full of cottage cheese for charity. Which one are you going with?
Wow, that's a rough one.
For charity.
Okay, vanilla pudding.
Okay, man, I am on fire. I had you for that one because I'm like, yeah, it's probably just the way you're. I had you for that. Okay, so next one. So you are you're doing a concert at Madison Square Garden. Okay, you're there, and you've had it's going to be sold out, but you've got one ticket, and this ticket you're going to hand deliver to the boss himself, Bruce Springsteen. Okay, you're going to give him this ticket to come to your show, watch your solo album. Okay, now you have this ticket, you're going to give it to him, but you have to ride up to his house. Let's say you know where he lives. You have to ride up on a giraffe or a hippopotamus and deliver this hand ticket to your show. Which animal are you riding up on?
Giraffe.
Oh, okay. I got that one wrong. I'm 3 for 4. So doing okay. Again, these are the deepest, darkest troll things that they give us, man, just to make silly questions. Last one. You're approached by producers, okay? They know what you're doing, your body of work. They like the way you sound. There's a sequel to one of these 2 movies coming out, the trilogy at this point, and you're asked to make the score or the soundtrack for it, okay? Are you going with making the soundtrack for the 3rd installment of the movie 300 or the next evolution of Mission Impossible? Which?
300.
Okay. I had you on that one. Good, man. So you went 4 for 5, man. I passed. I get to Dane owes me lunch, man, because he didn't have me on 300 one. So awesome, man. That's just a little segment we do called Rapid Fire, just silly, fun stuff. Just kind of pick your brain as maybe things you wouldn't hear on your regular bios and things like that. Okay, so you're a good sport, man. Thank you, man.
Fun.
You killed it, man. You did great. So the last segment, Brockett, and then I'll obviously give the floor to you. We do a little segment that's called Open Mic. And what this really is to kind of talk about you chasing your dreams, whether it's your early days of playing the 5 nights a week, your gigs you've did with Gaga, your side stuff, working with these amazing artists. If you could go back and tell yourself a lesson that you wish you'd know now, maybe to those up and comers, what's a piece of advice you give to yourself back then, if you will?
Let me think about this for a second. I think it's simple because this is what I've seen. So that I look up to now, that I still get inspired by. The universal trait that they all have is believing in themselves. I mean, you really got to believe that you're onto something. And even if it's unrealistic, you just, the sense of belief has to be within yourself first. And when you really believe in yourself stronger, then people gravitate to you if you're really confident. And, even when I heard Steph Curry say that in the playoffs this year, somebody said to him, what did he say? He said he had unrealistic confidence about hitting those threes, which makes him, right, like 4 championships, and he's still, under all circumstances, is not afraid to shoot, right? And that really resonates with me. And I think a lot of the artists that I've worked for, that I really look up to, when it really comes down to it, you have to have a really solid sense of believing what you're doing is
I
valid.
love that.
And I think I'd be, I would tell my younger self that just believe in yourself. I think I did have that sense of belief in some extent, but I would have liked to have known that I had that belief a little more consciously.
Yeah, man. I think it's definitely, and that's great advice. And we tell a lot to other artists that have come on, other athletes, right? And we say, even if it's some of our workforce audience that listens, maybe they're a doctor, a lawyer, maybe they're doing traditional 9 to 5s, right? They have to believe that what they're doing is important, right? And like what you're doing, music is very important. It feeds the soul. So whatever you're doing, believe that you have that skill set to go out and do it, and nobody else can do it as good as you can. And that's true. So that's powerful, man. I appreciate that. That's true words of wisdom, and I'm glad. Like I said, from the days of being 8, mom kind of giving you some direction till now, I am so glad that we get to hear more music from someone like yourself. And I don't mean to say this, I'm not being sarcastic or cheesy. I look at the Brockett's, the Billy Joels, those types of piano players, one and the same. You're now carrying on the torch, right, from some of those artists like that, Elton, Billy Joel. Look at yourself, and then we could go on to a plethora of jazz artists. But when I think about modern great piano players, you're the first person that comes to mind, because you're carrying on the legacy, and you're morphing it into something and making an evolution of it. So thank you for not stopping making music. It's a blessing to our ears, Brockett. We appreciate it. So
Hey man, I appreciate it. Glad to contribute a
yeah.
little bit.
Oh
Those are
man.
some strong words right there.
But if it's true,
I appreciate it though, man.
it's not just, I'm telling you, anyone that plays music, and I always say, it's great for people that listen to tunes. You almost have, maybe you can correct me on this, there's almost 2 types of listeners: people that just listen to music that maybe don't play, and people that play music and then listen to music, right? It's like, okay, watching what they're doing, right? So from someone who, again, nowhere near ever what you've done, when I watch you play, I'm like, oh, I study it, like studying what you do, right? So I just can't say enough thank yous. So as I kind of wrap it up, Rocket, I want to make sure if there was anything maybe you wanted to open up, maybe any projects or any last words. If not, that's fine too. But is there anything else you kind of want to delve into before we give some time back to your night?
Well, maybe there's just maybe 2 things.
Yeah.
I might bring up is a recent project that I'm really psyched about is that I produced a song for a rapper that I was a big fan of when I was younger, named MC Search.
Yeah.
And the song is called "It's a Vibe Right," and it's out on Spotify and all the platforms right now. And he did a great job with it, and I helped him produce it, and I'm really psyched to be working with. When I was younger, I used to listen to his stuff on the radio. He used to be with a group called Third Base, and then he did his own solo project. And I was a fan of his music. And then through a mutual friend, comedian Tom Green, in fact, from the MTV days,
Yep.
I did a podcast with him, and he is way into hip hop, and he linked me up with MC Search.
That's awesome.
He was friends with him, and it's been a great working relationship. And I feel really good about the music that we put together. Came out just recently. So that's something that I'm really psyched about. One project. And then, as I said before, I'm getting ready to put my own music out, and really psyched about that, kind of in the more chill out, kind of combining jazz with hip hop and sort of like this new lo-fi chill hop world. And I look to be putting a lot of stuff out quickly. So both of those things I'm kind of psyched about.
Well, I know, Brockett, we will definitely, because I heard the track that you did with him, and it was awesome. It's like it's a sense of nostalgia, but also fresh at the same time. I don't know how you did it, but it's like it takes me back and also makes me feel like it's fresh. That's really cool. So definitely, we'll make sure when we get the episode edited, we'll throw that link out there as well, to, of course, your stuff and what you're doing with him. I would love to do that, man. I'm excited to see the song of the month. I hope we can stay in touch on that and debut that for you. You've got us in your corner here. Again, I think what you're doing is just it's needed in a time right now where you almost feel like when you think ideas for music have ran out, something like what you're doing is like, there's nothing like this. So I'd say maybe give it 4 or 5 years, musical trends go. And I wouldn't be surprised if what you guys are now doing is now then taking over as maybe mainstream, right? So I see it coming, man. Well, Brockett,
can I give one other quick shout out?
Oh, sure. Absolutely, man.
I just want
Yeah.
to shout out the producer of the record, the Brockett Ship, a good friend of mine for a long, long time, Adrian Harper,
Yeah.
who helped me come up with the idea of just kind of how to integrate all those sounds together. So, you
Man.
know, he's one of those guys, like kind of like made me believe that that would be a worthy thing to do.
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
and so now I'm sitting here, and you're based in Kansas, is that right?
yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm a Kansas fan.
So you're
So
based in Kansas, and you're listening to the album
yeah.
that we did from scratch some time ago. So it's a really good feeling, man, just to put something out in the world.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it doesn't stop here. Like I said, when we started talking about you, this is something that again, you'll hear it all over the states, our database, and then of course other countries too, man. So trust me, there's so many people craving what I call just deep music, right? Again, I love radio hits and all respect to those pop songs, and no disrespect to that, but there's a time and a place for that, and I'm just so refreshed of what you're doing. So I can't wait to hear what the July song sounds like, man. So I'm excited to see it, and then August we're gonna hold you to it, and let's get that song of the month out so we can keep jamming to it. Okay. So.
All right, sounds great.
Well, Brockett, my honor, my privilege, man. Please let it be known. I say this to our guests. You definitely left a mark on us. Dane and I always say we learn more from our guests than they do from us. Open invitation. Please make it a point to come back. Open door. As you showcase new things, you have this platform. We're happy to showcase it for you as well and keep cheering you on. And we look forward to having you on many, many times in the future. Okay. So.
Sounds good, Josh. It was my pleasure. Really,
Yes.
It was a lot of fun, and good luck to you with what you're doing there. I think what you're doing is great.
I appreciate it, man. We'll be in touch very soon. I'll link up with you, and we look forward to seeing many, many more great songs from you. Okay. So.
All right. Thanks again. Take care.
Hey, thanks, my friend. You're welcome to hop off. So, guys, that's Brockett. I'm telling you, this refreshing sense of just, I don't even know how I could put it into words, like sunshine in a bottle, but also a chill vibe. I needed that. And I'm telling you, I'll make sure that the links are out there. Such a fresh take on music, but also so good and talented. As someone who's played for so many years, I love what he's doing. I think you will too. I remember like I talked about my dad growing up and some of the Boney James and Miles Davis, and even deeper into that, even a touch of, Kenny G and things like that. Well, that was my jazz. And now hearing something fresh like this with a nice beat to it, and also even a little bit more dramatic, some of the darker stuff. This was just a perfect time to release some music like this. So you guys are going to love it just as much as I do. Check out Brockett Ship. Of course, check out the single of the month, if you will. Got lots of projects. We'll link those as well. So just a great venture into some unknown territory that I think is working. So Dane Sends His Love, that was the nightcap episode. Coming up next week, we've got many, many artists as well. We've got some people that we're working with, as well as kicking off Sunday with Lonnie Alameda. So it's going to be a great month of July. We're grateful that you guys stopped by. As always, don't forget that we love you. And as Dane would say, thank you for listening.